everybody. My name is Bodo Sieber, the CEO and co-founder of Tagmarshal. Delighted to have you on board early in the season for our expert session, 6 ways to attract and retain new golfers this season. I'm really excited to have 2 industry experts with me. Morten Bisgaard, the CEO of Players First, and Jacob Hite, the Director of Marketing for Club Profit. Morten, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Bodo. Everything's good here.
Jacob, how's Dallas today? Is that where you're at?
Where I'm at, it's under 60 degrees, so I've got to have a vest and a sweater on, you know.
Okay, good. And yeah, thanks for putting in your pre-webinar expertise. I'm really excited that we have a good session today, and the goal for us is that we would like you, our guests, to have some takeaways that you can apply this season, which might be today, right, or tomorrow. So there's lots of value to be had, and we also want to encourage you to ask questions. You can do that with our Q&A, and you can do that in our chat. Yeah, we will introduce Club Profit in just a minute, and also Players First when we get to the section that they will present in. But to get us going, we want to answer the burning question. There's this minor golf event happening this week, and I don't know if you guys saw that, but Tiger Woods had the perfect 1st of April Fool's prank, announcing that he was mysteriously going to be fit after his Achilles injuries and going to play the Masters. That was amazing, and rightfully got 11.5 million views. So he's definitely won that one. Jacob, who is your money on? And I'm going to launch a poll. I want to know from the audience, who do you think is going to take it?
I'm going to go with Scotty.
You go with Scotty? The bookie's favorite. Morten?
I'm going for Højgaard, because then I'm doubling my chances because they're twins in both participating. So
I see what you're doing. Okay, so that's you're going with the surname. So for me, for my sins, I'm looking for the webinar here. Sorry, for the poll rather. Let me see if we can find it. So we want to know from our audience who's going to win the Masters. Okay, the poll is live. Please give us a vote. Tell us who you think. I'm going to go with Rory again, even though he keeps letting me down. But at some point, he is going to break it. And who knows?
Scotty's a Dallas guy, so I have to represent, right? I got to go.
Of course, 100%. You can't go wrong with Scotty. I saw a really interesting comparison between Jack Nicklaus win and Scotty Scheffler, and how would that compare with the rollback and that. So it's there's some real talent that's going to be on display, and I'm sure that Augusta is going to look amazing too. So we have neck on neck here between Scotty and Rory slightly ahead. I'm assuming that there's a little bit of European bias in our attendance too. So let's see how it goes. We're definitely excited because we know that's when the golf season gets underway for real. End poll, share results, so you can see that. Rory ahead of Scotty. And then we've got Bryson and Xander neck on neck. So that's what our experts are saying. So what we want to look at first, because we're talking about new players, and new is in brackets in our title. New means new players at your course, but also new players to the game. We want to unpack that a little bit from a data standpoint. So our trusted source here is the National Golf Foundation, the NGF. Obviously, they do amazing work, and I'd encourage you all to stay up to date with their stats that they keep publishing. So there's some really cool stats here. 3.4 million people played on a course for the first time in 2023. I'm yet to see that number for 2024. Morten, I know you're going to tell us about this later. You work closely with the NGF. Do you know if there's a 2024 number on that point?
I don't have it yet. I'm sorry.
Okay. We'll be first to know, because we know we have your number. So what's interesting here is that 66% of these first-time players had their first experience in golf at a Topgolf sort of off-course facility, right? And that really proclaims a very different feeder into the game, where in the past it used to be, hey, my dad's taken me to play. Now it's no, my friends dragged me to Topgolf and I really liked it. So now I'm on a golf course, right? The other point is that the youngest cohort in golf, which is 18 to 34, which is Jacob, you know all about these marketing age sort of cohorts. 18 to 34 is what every brand wants to get into and build loyalty, right? So that is now the biggest cohort in golf, bigger than the older cohorts, which is great to see. Golf is younger. And then also that cohort thinks that golf is cool, has the potential to be cool. Golf obviously on the tour on Netflix, I'm sure has had a thing to do with this. And then also that whole Live Golf PGA Tour saga has really pushed golf into the limelight. 28.1 million people played on a golf course in 2024. That's high watermark stuff, right? And 47.2 million people play on and off course. Again, that's getting close to 50, which is incredible. So that's 1 in 7 Americans, right? And the total number of rounds played in the US 2024, 545 million. So this says to me one thing: there's a high demand, right, on the game. Morten, from your side, how does that spill into some of the stats that you are seeing? Is your data collection also up alongside that growth?
It does, and I think it's always super interesting when you see a change in the demographics, because different demographics comes with different expectations into the game. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for golf in the coming years.
100%. And I think to your point, we've seen a really nice increase in people of color joining the game and females joining the game. And I still remember that a few years ago when the beauty industry all of a sudden figured out that they could sell us men products too. And there was a whole untapped market. And golf is finally waking up. And the ladies tour is actually an amazing showcase of accuracy and of really amazing golf. So it's great to see that that's spilling into golf. Jacob, from your side, is that something that from a marketing point of view, when you're advising and guiding your partners with tools, is that something that you make sure that they take note of and take care of?
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to get permission to go out and play around if your wife is joining. So I think that's a pretty common denominator. But yeah, as the sport grows, as the game grows, we try to get people to think of, how do you make it more welcoming on the front end? So not just, the experience you're providing, but how do you, that pre-round experience, making sure it's attractive and understandable. And for those new golfers that it's easy to dip your toes in and come to the golf course, and you lower that barrier of entry. I think that's what we try to get people to try to conceptualize.
Yeah, that's a great point here, barrier of entry, right? And on the right, you see an amazing stat too. That's over 22 million people that have indicated high interest in playing on a golf course. I'm sure a lot of them have dipped their toe in a Topgolf or Topgolf type facility, and they've really felt. And there's actually a term here. I think the NGF calls it. What's the term here? Morten, help me out. Shot euphoria, is that right? Shot euphoria, what it feels like when you hit the ball properly for the first time and it's got the correct flight path. So that's what it feels like when you're like, I hate golf, I love golf, right? So when you have that moment for the first time, that's when you all of a sudden, hey, it would be great to play on a golf course. So it's great to see the demographics shifting, and that's obviously a huge feeder opportunity, as is that world of Topgolf and younger generation coming in. But what do we need to do as operators to make sure that we're welcoming? And there's some data here that suggests that golf has a way to go when it comes to building loyalty and really looking after our players. And I do think that is something that is what we obviously want to shine a light on today, so that we make sure that we have that personalization improved, that we're making sure that as a golf course operator, we have the right tools to ensure that it feels like a high-touch environment, right? Even though we may not have 100 people helping us do that, but the people that we do have need to be empowered and need to have the right tools to do it. And yeah, so the data here says that only a low percentage of golfers would confirm that the club that they play at on a regular basis know their name. It's always great if people know your name, and in golf is so personal, that is almost like a hallmark of golf culture, right? So how can we bring that into our operation without turning our daily fee operator into a private facility? Is there a way to do that? And how can we make people feel valued and special, right? Because ultimately we are creating experiences, and we're also competing against other experiences. And I'll tell you one thing at Topgolf, well, you have a member card, right? And that takes you into any Topgolf, and your name is on the board, right? When you play Angry Birds, whatever it is, like it feels personalized, and you're there with friends, and that community and what happens around that is also one of the key drivers of opportunity for us. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Morten, the NGF here is dipping into quite a small data sample. What would you say? How would that look? And what data could you add here from your side in terms of volume?
No, I think it's definitely time for golf to embrace technologies from outside the industry that is being used in retail and online shopping, where we know the customers much better on their behavior because it's digital. So how can we bring that into the golf space as well? Because I think that's kind of the expectations that the modern consumer brings into the golf space. So I think it's slowly getting there, but it's definitely a trend that we are seeing.
Jacob, what is your sense?
Yeah, one of the things I think is I've talked to a few course operators here is like that younger generation that is coming in, they have a digital footprint. They have a very obvious digital footprint. You know what golfers are probably coming to play that day. I just encourage people, Google them, Google their name, get a sense of who is this person, what do they do, check out their Instagram. That could be a super easy high touch way when that person comes in to say, hey, I saw that you were in San Diego, or little personal touch points. And I think that loyalty disconnect here can get broken down by just that little degree of care that you can show. So it's one of those things. A Zillennial, a Gen Z, they have a digital footprint. You can find them online pretty easy if you just take a little bit of time. So
yeah, very true. And they also have opinions online, right? And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So one question here for our audience, and if you'll give us another second and a touch of your button here, are you targeting new golfers? Like we said, there's 3.5 million new players that have joined the game. And this year, hopefully, will be much the same. We'd love to get your quick answer to that, if I can launch that poll again. Attracting new golfers, launch. Okay. Answers, options. Yes, bring it on. We want new golfers. I know we're busy enough. Are we looking into it? Like maybe that's why you're here today, right? Or no, have you seen our waiting list? You already have a 2-year waiting list to play. Maybe we'll have some more guests, but not members. Yes, bring it on. Okay, that's great. You guys can't see that, but there's a very active segment of our guests here wanting those new golfers and are looking into it. I'm just going to share that quickly, just as a snapshot. Can you see that 73% saying yes, we're ready, we want those new golfers, players are new to the game, and we're looking into how can we do things better and attract them. Brilliant. So let's look at some of, because we, like we said, we want to create experiences for our players, and we need to understand what are the success factors. And I was on a panel at Golf TechCon with the NGCA a while ago, and one of the questions was around AI. What's AI going to do for golf? And obviously, a lot of our systems that help operators are using AI. Certainly ours is. I know Club Profit is using AI, so is Players First. But And the consumer, the golfer-facing tech is also smartening up. But my sense was that the biggest impact that AI is going to have is that the golfers, many of them are high earners, are going to have a 4-day work week some point in the near future, right? And they will have an additional day to play golf. And they want more experiences, right? So if we can serve them well, we are going to capture more of their time, and we're going to capture also more revenue opportunities around this. So, but what is it that we need to do well? So we've looked at, as a guide for our session today, at a USGA study around the golfer experience journey, and it looks at and that was done by the University of Wisconsin for the USGA a while ago, but it's super relevant. And they've really looked and quizzed a couple of thousand golfers, went to various operators and tracked and quizzed and found out everything they could find out. And they found that there's 1,000 touch points in the golfer journey, and they range from engage, which is pre-round, to arrive, which is clubhouse, parking, all of that, which is golf on course, which is exit, that's post-round, restaurant, and so on, and then extend, what happens once the players have left the facility. And those are all ranked somewhere because they wanted to understand which ones are the ones that matter most, which ones are neutral, which ones elevate our experience, and which ones hurt the experience. So we wanted to use this very smart circle of the golfer experience to guide our session. And I would love to launch Jacob into that pre-round experience. So look again here. So that's you engage and arrive. And obviously this is where Club Profit plays and really adds value. Jacob, take us away on that.
Yeah, so obviously to get a new golfer, one of the first things you need to consider is where are they? And the answer is probably online. They are online. So making sure that your course shows up and is discoverable is really the lowest bar to kind of when you're considering how am I going to reach these people. So when someone types in golf course near me, whether they're visiting your area, whether they're just trying to, like we said, dip their toes in and find a home course, that's one of the first things they're going to be doing. And so are you showing up in those first results? We know that less than 2% of all clicks go to anything further than those first few results. So you don't want to be there. You need to be in those top 5 positions, really. And then we also know if someone's doing that on their phone, it's an almost 80% chance that the next day they're going to be visiting your facility. Like that's a really high intent marker. So showing up where you need to show up online is super important. So that comes down to your SEO. And SEO is like, I feel like it's one of those marketing buzzwords, but it is really important. It really is. And so just making sure you have a website and experience that's optimal and some sort of a strategy around it to make sure that you're showing up for that.
Jacob, I see that you've given us an example here of a golf course near me search, and I see that Topgolf pops up. So obviously Google has cottoned on to that's what golfers might be looking for. So the question here, is this good or bad for the local operators? What do you think?
I think we said, I think it feels like a bit of a feeder, right? Topgolf is where a lot of people got that first taste of, hey, this is pretty fun. I'm getting to hang out with my friends, like that shot euphoria. They're getting that experience, and it's making them curious about, I kind of want to have that traditional experience of on the course. They want the golf cart. They want they want the entire experience. So I think it's positive. Obviously, you want to make sure that when you show up and you're neck and neck with the Topgolf in the results, that you have an attractive offering that you're showing up with. But I think it's a net positive. I think Topgolf has done great things for the game.
And one more question for you. I see that your example course here has a 3-star rating on Yelp, and it's really quite unforgiving. And I remember that as a business owner, we had at our Atlanta office, we had an underperforming staff member that we had to let go. And then within 24 hours, we had 2 reviews. I was harassed at this facility, the one said. The other one's like, I would never come back here. It was horrible. And they were not that person. It was just a random bogus profile. It's like, that is rubbish. Let me go and delete this. And then you realize that you can't delete it, right? So unless it's some sort of hate speech or it's against the Google rules, it's difficult to deal with. So what is your tip here, Jacob? Because sometimes golfers have completely biased, unfair, very loud views on their little experience at a golf course, but you still have to manage it. How do you manage it if something like that comes your way?
Morten, I think, is the expert on this. So whenever we get to his section, he'll probably have a lot of wealth of info. But the internet is forever. Someone goes and leaves a review like that for you. You can see here, I put that stat, that 88%. I mean, when you go out and you look at a business, if you see that they've responded, right? Even if they've responded, even if the review reads as kind of bogus and just very, kind of vitriol, if the golf course took the time to respond and say, we apologize that you had that experience. We would love the opportunity for you to come back and explain to us in person and for us to be able to, whatever, give you a better experience. That leaves a positive impression on the next person who comes and looks, because Google, like we're showing here, that rating is baked right into the results. And it's also a component of the ranking. So, if you're a 2.0, Google's going to deprioritize you on that list versus someone who's a 4.0. So it's really important that you're managing your reviews and you have some sort of, maybe it's once a week, you just go and you look, what have I got? How many reviews have I received? Go and respond to them. It's really important to be proactive and not just let that negative score build up. So, and then Morten will talk about how to fix that negative score when it comes to his section. But yeah, it's super important.
Morten, what is your sense?
Well, I totally agree with Jacob, but I think the way to solve that is by the numbers. You just keep adding positive response, so ratings to your Google review or Yelp on top of that, and then it would it's just a number of the mass. And if the mass is more satisfied.
I think everyone on the call, like, how often have you gone and said, I had a great experience at that restaurant, let me go leave a review? Rarely. You have a bad experience at a restaurant, you're probably going to leave a review. So yeah, unfortunately it skews negative. So you got to be proactive there. We can go to the next one, I think. So obviously the first thing is making sure you're discoverable, that they can actually find you when they're looking up for a new golf course. The other thing is the booking experience. So what is the user experience of your website or however you're managing bookings, right? Don't bury the lead. It shouldn't be super hard to book a tee time, find your location, understand course details. When you bury that kind of stuff on your website, when you make it hard to find, I can tell you as a millennial, I'm expecting a pretty good website experience with all the information I need immediately at my fingertips. I'm not hopping on the phone call. I want it to be served to me. I want to be able to self-serve that information. You can see here that stat, that's 0.05 seconds. That's the general response for someone to form an opinion about your website and whether or not to hop off. I think you've all probably had an experience where you're on a website and it's just slow or buggy or bad looking and you just kind of navigate away from it. You got to make sure that you have an experience that's not doing that, that it's actually easy to use. For our customers, we did a dive into our customers that are on our web platform. 70 to 80% of their traffic is coming from mobile devices. So I think we have this perception that, like, oh, the classic golfer. That's not the case in the traffic we're seeing. It's 70 to 80% of them are hitting our golf course websites from mobile devices. So if you don't have a website that looks good on a phone and makes it super easy for them just to go click, click, for every button or every step you add to like a booking process, there's a 10 to 15% decline in completions of bookings. So if you make your book a tee time 3 pages deep, 10%, 10%, 10%. Not a great thing. So just important to be mindful there. Then I also put accessibility. You're talking about the growth of different segments. Accessibility in golf is such a huge opportunity to broaden the game. It's also important from like a legal liability standpoint, but does your website, does it make it easy for someone who's maybe got a visual disability, someone who can't really, are able to contrast the screen and make it easy for them to book? All those things are important to consider and make sure that you have an experience that's, once again, opening the game up to more people and those new golfers.
Yeah, 100%. Morten, quick question for you. So that pre-round experience from a player's point of view, the booking process and that, to what extent does that feature in the world of post-round tracking?
It depends whether they actually engaged in their website and booked the tea time. But of course, that's the only one we can capture post round. But it does play a crucial role also from the club side. This is where you set your expectations to your consumer, to your customer, or the golfer. So are you stating that you are the best golf course in Florida? You better live up to that. Or are you stating you are the best municipal course or the best something, or maybe the most fun place to be? By setting those expectations, you better deliver on that brand promise when the golfer arrives at your club. So you have to remember to be aligned, and you don't have to be the most fancy or expensive golf course in order to deliver a great experience. It's all a matter is the expectations met, or even above that, and that's basically where it starts in the pre-round communication.
Sure. So it's a question of value, right? And sometimes $50 is fantastic value, and sometimes $400 is horrible, right? So I know that
the worst thing you can do is overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah. I know that Airbnb, one of their rating criteria is that does the place that you booked a post experience look like the photos and as it was advertised, right? So I wonder what the golfer expectation is in terms of photos of the feature holes and that versus what things are actually like in terms of conditioning. Maybe feeling this one back at Jacob, what are the other things that are important here to consider?
Makes me think of dating apps. Do the pictures match what you saw in person when you show up for the date? It's really important, right? So the accuracy of information, just like Morten's saying, is it clear what to expect? Is there an explanation of your rates if you're doing dynamic pricing? Is that clear on your website right there on the booking page so that they can understand, like, hey, why is the Saturday 9 a.m. different, than the 10 or whatever it might be? So is it clear? That'll really improve the customer experience just if they have an understanding of what they're doing. The pace and expectations. Tell them, how long is it going to take me to play this, right? Then they have that expectation of like, okay, I should plan 4 hours of my day, or should I plan more? Like, having that clear expectation, just like Morten's saying, the under promise so that you can then over deliver. That's the whole name of the game here. And then for the pre-round communication, once again, I would double down, more info, not less, especially for a new golfer. If I have never come to your course before, or if I have never picked up a club before, I would appreciate in that email that you're sending to me for where do I park? Where should I go once I've parked? Who should I be looking for? All that information, you might think it might seem like, oh, well, my golfers know what to do. Your new golfers don't, especially someone who's never been to your facility before. So it doesn't take much time to just go ahead and put that in here, park here. Once you've arrived, do this. Just kind of making that really clear and concise and communicating that out to the customer. It's going to make a better experience all around. So and all that. Once again, the timing, the pace of play, just the more info, the better. No one's gonna be mad because they have too much information.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the takeaways here is that really go and look at your website, look at your online channels and check, is it all up to date, right? Is there information here that's 3 years old that's probably going to hurt you? Can you update this now at the start of the season? Make sure that you're aligned across your channels. You might have a Facebook profile, you might have Instagram, you might have LinkedIn, wherever you're reaching your golfers, what's happening on Yelp, to what extent can you influence and control that? And do you own your Google business, right? You need to own that and make sure that that you can set your opening hours, a link to your website, photos. You can really drive opportunity. Make sure that your phone number is correct. All of those things, right? Do this now, start of season. Take the time. Otherwise, you're leaving opportunity on the table. And then we have the arrive side, point of sale. What's the best practice on this front?
I think it's, again, just making sure that everything that we addressed earlier about the accuracy of the information, knowing those details about your golfer. Once they arrive, do it again. Explain what to expect. Let them know how things work at your course, because each course is going to have its own little nuances and differences. So just speak to that. If you had that opportunity to go and look up that customer, that golfer, and find out a little bit about them, here's where I'd add that personal touch. It's good to see you, Mr. Sieber. Get that stuff in there. And then just wherever you can, those touch points, try to find those opportunities.
Yeah, and that was, if we can, right, we also want to find staff that are service-minded, right? And how can we find Ritz-Carlton, Smile, and service and go the extra mile people, right? It's that also comes down to the culture that we're trying to create. Yeah, we're going to skip to the on-course side of things. So we might argue that where our office is and the pro shop is where our work happens, but actually out on the golf course, that's our business, right? That's what we're selling. So out on the golf course, touch points that occur during the round of golf. There's obviously many, and this is also where most of the time gets spent. And ultimately, this is the heart of this whole cycle, right? Without that experience, without what happens out on golf course, nobody's going to engage and nobody's going to extend, right? So this is the key. This is what differentiates us. So what are the things that we need to do well out on the golf course? We spoke about that Airbnb comparison. Did it look like it did on the photos? Well, course conditioning floats to the top as a top experience factor always when you ask players. What's the main experience factor? It's course conditioning, right? And you obviously know this as operators, because very often the budget question is not how much do we need to spend, so how much more money can we find to put into conditioning, right? Because it never disappoints. One of the reasons is also what happens at the Masters right now. Everybody watches that, 100 million people watch what happens, and then they have this expectation. It's my course, I play it down the road, that charges me $60, needs to look like Augusta, right? So course conditioning goes a long way, and obviously there's tips and tricks that your superintendents are dialing into, and also this is where a lot of your budget goes. The next point is playing partners, and that is a very important one that we'll talk to a little bit later too. And we already hinted at that when we spoke to the Topgolf experience, right? Is who am I playing with? Who's in my group? That is very key to players. And the third one is pace and flow of play. So pace and flow of play always is top three. And in terms of operators, the NGCA did a survey here. They counting it as an even higher priority. So there's real focus on this, and there's good reason for that, right? Because the time it takes to play is a critical detractor, right? Because it's not just the time on course. I need to get there. I need to warm up and hit some balls on the range. I want to get out to play my round. Then I got a post-round burger and beers, potentially. It's a 6-hour time commitment. Where do I find this in this day and age, right? So if I give you my time, I want you to have high quality experience for me as a player, right? And I will be very unforgiving if that is not valued, right? So it's important to get that right. And then looking back at this 1,000 touch points survey, there's literally 1,000 touch points listed, including is there water available out on the golf course? Are there ball washers? What's the signage like? All of those things are rated in terms of perfect delighter, neutral, frustrator, perfect frustrator. And the crazy result here is that the things that come out the highest over and above even conditioning and the lowest are pace of play related. So this is the make or break ultimately. No matter how great our conditioning is, if our pace is bad, that's all that people remember. If our pace is okay, they remember the conditioning, right? So it's an experience killer if we get it wrong. At the same time, it can also really be elevated. And this is one of the takeaways that I would encourage you to consider at your course tomorrow. Etiquette and friendliness by the ranger marshal player assistant is the top-rated delighter in the study. So etiquette of the marshal is the top-rated delighter. At the same time, corrective pace of play actions, that is Grumpy Marshall here, Mr. Grumpy down in the corner, and speed of other players in front of me getting in my way. That is the worst thing that can happen to a golfer. It's really polar, right? And then number 3 delighter is information provided about pace of play expectations. So that might be on the website, like Jacob said, set that expectation early, put it on your confirmation mail again, right? And interesting enough, how the players think about that, it's sure they want to know, but they want to know that your course values that, has competency, and they want to know that all the other players know about it, right? Because if you ask a player, they will always say, I'm not slow, it's everybody else, right? So they want to know that other people see that this course values pace of play and has processes in place. So this is like a polar experience marker. And I just want to hand over here for a second to Morten, who obviously does millions, him and the team at Players First, millions of post-round surveys. Do you see similar results in what comes through for you guys?
We see a very similar result. So, and I think what's interesting here is that you can actually take something and that could be a disadvantage and turn it into your advantage. So if you recruit the right people, have the right strategy, and use it in the right way, you can actually elevate a semi-good experience to a great experience just by a touch point on the course. And I think that's super interesting. As you mentioned, no one really talks about pace of play if it was okay or if it was fine. But the moment it drops under a certain limit, it becomes important. So it's actually not really important before it's not working. And I think that's you have to find that level, and it can be different from course to course. But luckily, Tagmarshal has some tools for that.
Yeah, sure. It's actually across our 700 partners, we saw that the average pace last season was 4 hours and 6 minutes, right? So that 4-hour holy grail is actually not that unrealistic, but it really depends. You may have the best round of golf ever at Erin Hills, and it takes 5 hours, and that's perfect, right? It
Yeah. So what you guys are doing, you're measuring the actual pace of play. What we are measuring is actually the perceived pace of play. So golfers don't necessarily know how long it took, but they have definitely a sense and an opinion about it.
Very much so, and this is very polar, right? So I think one of the takeaways, perception for players becomes reality, right? That is, and Matt Barksdale from Pinus always says the on-course sentiment, how do I feel on the course, is the post-round sentiment, right? That's what I take away. But just for our guests here on the webinar, there's 2 things to take away that I'd encourage you to consider. So the marshal role, according to the study, and every golfer out there, is not well liked or respected. Reframe it. Call that role a player assistant. An assistant is here to assist. A marshal is here to police. Flip that on its head. The other opportunity is to reposition those interactions, right? Make them positive, make them friendly, make them helpful. We're going to talk about that just now. Don't make them policing, because players cannot compute. They don't like corrective pace of play actions. If there's a corrective pace of play actions, hey guys, you're slow, get on with it, and somebody grunts at them, that's all they remember. It really wrecks their round if you don't do it. Okay, so consider reframing the marshal as a player assistant, course ambassador, whatever you feel is appropriate. And you will find that this now adds, because remember, it's a top-rated factor, friendliness and etiquette, right? So we can do that very quickly by just reframing that role. So at Tagmarshal, obviously, we've made this a science. How do we manage the traffic on the golf course? So that's what things might look like. And obviously, this line of sight is invaluable when it comes to operating, especially in a resource or labor constraint environment. And what it really also does is where we're tracking data from walkers, where we put a walking tag on them, or obviously we're tracking carts, so we put a GPS system in a golf cart, and that might be any type of cart. We can help you with that. But the opportunity here is that this lends itself to is that we can personalize the service out on the golf course. And remember, your players are out there for 4.5 hours. There's lots of opportunity for touch points by your team, and we can personalize this. And this is where it's so great to have a partner like Club Profit with an API integrated into our tee sheet in the Tagmarshal side, where we grab those player names and then automatically then they get assigned to the cards, and then you can then look at, hey, what's this card number 33? They're currently 6 minutes out of position. Who's in this group? So I've got the names, right? And I can also see how did they go the last few holes. Is this a one-off? Have they just lost the ball, or is this really a negative trend that's going to hurt our field? And the other thing that we always try and do, and that's what technology needs to do, is it needs to be easy to use and intuitive, right? So we can immediately show card number 33, biggest problem, big icon, big color, and then they have a tail of 2 groups that they're currently impacting that are delayed, right? So those are the guys that are going to take to Google and say, this was slow, because there's also a difference. And that's what Morten says in the perception of pace. Very often the flow of play, which is a bit different. It's like, how many stops did I have? Was there tee box wait times? That's flow of play is the perception marker for golfers. The pace, maybe 4 hours and 10 minutes, but if I had to wait many times for the group ahead of me, that's when it hurts, right? So the benefit here is that this has a huge positive impact on the play experience if we do it well, but also commercially, hey, if we control this, we can charge high rates because we've got high competency around this, players love us, but also we can find more capacity and get some of those 3.4 million new golfers out on our golf course, right? And the nice thing here is that talking about new golfers, the system allows for, we can have data sets here that we can customize, right? Our system is reasonably customizable around this. You can say, is this a first-time player at our course? This person's here for the first time. Or is this a new player who's new to golf, right? So we can mark that, and then we can see out on the course as we interact with those players, these guys are new to our course, but this is a complete newbie in golf. And then we can help them and have those check-ins. And our player assistant now is not a marshal that looks for slow play issues. They're actually here to help and create that on-course touch point with players. A quick question here for you, Jacob. Do you think that first-time player or new golfer is a data point that a tee sheet might in the future incorporate and then hand over to a technology like ours?
I definitely think so. I mean, as we've seen just like such a boom in the amount of new golfers, it's the first-time golfers, and you should be providing a different follow-up experience, with Morten, with Players First. You should be probably providing a different in-round experience with your marshal. Like it really colors the entire interaction you have with the golfer if you know it's their first time, right? A little bit more hand-holding, a little bit more of because if you can build that lifetime golfer, if you can become their home course, that presents a huge opportunity for you. So yeah, I definitely think it's something a lot of the tee sheets are looking at.
Yeah, 100%. So obviously technology needs to help automate, right? So our system auto signs that. And again, like to have an API integration makes that really smooth. And then just the last point to make here is also, and you may have heard me say, this group is out of position, right? If you go to a player and your player says, hey guys, you're a bit out of position, please help me out. That is a very different message to saying you are slow. Because players don't want to be called slow. They can't compute it. Never do that. So that's a takeaway for your course. And however you want to manage this tomorrow, reposition, reframe that message. Say, hey guys, you're out of position. Help me catch up half a hole, because that is temporary. But if I call the player slow, they feel like, hey, I'm calling them dumb or low IQ. Right? That's permanent stigma. I don't want to carry that as a player. I'm going to fight. And here's a course that does this super well. That's Franklin Bridge down in Tennessee. So they're making it fun language, right? They're saying, hey, please keep doing what you can to get closer to pace. The golf course, the country, and the galaxy all thank you. Like, this is a wonderful environment for me to experience golf in, right? It's not overly serious, but I still get the message, okay, I can obviously comply with this, right? So this is awesome to see. And then the last point I want to make before I hand over to Morten is very often there's because pace becomes and flow of play becomes reality to the players, that perception, and very often that is the 1-star marker post round, right? And this is a difficult thing to counter as an operator, because what this may have happened last week, right? So what do? And very often golfers say, well, I want a comp, I want my money back, this was horrible, you failed. So this is again where technology can help you. So in our world, we have a track map. So every single round that was played is tracked and has a history, and you can see, how did this group go? Who was in the group? What is their tee time? What cart were they in? Were there geofence breaches? Did they misbehave? What interactions did we have out on the golf course? And very often, a response here that the course needs to do would then to be able to say, hey, yeah, we saw according to our system that your play time was actually 4 hours and 18 minutes. As we communicated, our goal time is 4 hours and 15 minutes. So we're sorry that you felt that it wasn't as fast as you would have liked. We also noted that you played in a twosome, right? So if you have this information, we can really counter some of these negative sentiments, and also others will then see that when they're about to launch into an angry 1-star rating, hey, this golf course actually has technology that can look at how did things really go, right? And very often this quest for a comp or a free round is then obviously ended, because we have data to level the playing field. Yeah, let's just close out, and this is research from Players First. It was presented at the USGA Golf Innovation Symposium. So Morten, I think I'll hand this over to you. What is it that we need to do, just simplified, to get that net promoter score to shoot up?
Yeah, well, basically, I think what we want to show on this slide here is kind of that there's a link between touch points. So if you're not performing in one touch point, it affects another touch point. And again, whether your flow is bad, or you're not feeling welcome, or you have a bad experience on the course with the staff, we can just see that it affects other revenue drivers at your golf club, for instance, in the restaurant. So if you have basically a happy experience, you would most likely visit the restaurant, and if you don't, the opposite. So, and it has an overall effect on the NPS as well. So basically, it's the player journey are linked together. So one touch point can affect another touch point, and it all comes down to revenue drivers in the end.
Sure. I think that meeting on-course staff is underutilized, right? Because as an operator, I'm so busy, I'm happy to just, okay, all my golfers are out on the golf course, I can take a break now. But actually out on the golf course, that is where those interactions are critical. And if we can make that efficient and personalized, that goes a long way. And we know, hey, this is a group of new golfers, let me help them, give them a playing tip. Or did these guys are here for the first time? Do they know about our grill? Do they know about our halfway house? Do they know about our feature hole, right? Can I add value to them and have these interactions? So let's jump to the post-round sentiment. So this is the exit and extend of our cycle. And I want to hand over here to Morten.
All right, thanks, Bodo. Just briefly, this slide just basically shows that we have a lot of data, and we're working with a lot of golf courses every day. All over the world. So we're tracking golfer experience in every aspect of golf, whether you are on course, off course, in a tournament, in a member guest invite, or you're a member at a private club, or you're a daily fee guest. We try to track where we can. We have various surveys we can put into place. And we actually recently just, both of you, take the next slide, partnered with NGF in regards of engaging the recreational golfer even more, introducing a new product together called Golfer's Voice, which is basically a daily fee survey going out to the recreational golfer post round. So if you want to know more about that, there's a link here. But we are very happy with that, and this year as well launched the Golfer's Voice Awards, which is 100% based on golfers voting via these surveys here. So go check it out. Yeah. So and how does it actually work? Well, it's actually quite simple in a way because we have made all the hard work behind the scenes. So we are integrated with the majority of all the T-sheets provided out there in the market. So whenever a golfer books a round, we will get a notification via API. So when the round is played, we can send out a post round survey, and immediately crunch the data and send the insights into the management of the golf course. That of course quickly jumps out in the golf cart and make the improvements in the course. So everything is automated. We also have an integration into Club Profit. So whenever someone books around, we will know. We can share that data information and make it very easy. And of course, not every golfer has the same journey. So it's super important to have that in mind when you're looking at your data. And what we are trying to do is make it very easy in order to filter down your data or create the segments based on both survey data, but also data that we get from the booking platform. So you can filter out various segments, whether it's on age, gender, seniority, if you're a new golfer, have you been in the game for many years. And what we can see is that the journeys and the expectations are super, super different. Whether you are a junior golfer or you are a middle-aged woman with a high handicap, it's so different expectations you bring into a club, and you will have to be very specific in your communication to these different segments as well. So what we are trying to accomplish with the advanced analytics is actually to make it easy for the golf courses in order to know where to prioritize their action points. So that's basically what we are doing. Yes, Bodo. And if we are zooming down into the new golfers, what would it make to what's the most important factors in order to retain the new golfers at your course? And we can see when we filter down in our data, there are three things that stands out. Basically, they want to feel integrated into the club. They want to be part of something. They want to feel welcome. It's definitely a social connection, and it also links to number 2, to have others to play with. There's a huge difference in dropouts when we see you have a playing partner or not coming in as a new golfer at your course. But at the same time, you would also like to be better at what you're doing. And so the third one, develop the golf game, is equally important as the 2 first. So if you were to take away a few bullet points from here, I would say that these 3 are super important. And we can see in the data that 50% of all new golfers are actually have left the club after 2 years. So there's a huge hole in the bucket right now that basically is leaping out. So if we're looking at the 3.4 million new golfers coming into the game, half of them will be out of golf again in 2 years if we don't do something.
Sure.
So that was short around retention of new golfers, but also recruitment. I think what is underestimated is the network that a new golfer brings into the club or into the game in general. A new golfer has a network of friends, family, colleagues that doesn't necessarily has been exposed to golf before. And by having this new experience as golfer, you will go out and recruit and tell about the great experience in your network. And I think we can see that it's often underestimated, the value of that, the power of the network of the new golfer that they bring into the club. Your members that have been a membership of your club for 10 years, they have already used the network. So they have tried to recruit all the golfers they can, but you wanna utilize on the new golfers that comes in. So again, whatever you can do in your marketing effort in regards of trying to build in both the social aspect, but also the recruitment, but also the development of skills. I've just shown a little example here of what I've seen in the golf club.
I have a personal anecdote. Whenever I was, looking to get into the game, I didn't want to be the worst guy out there. So I invited everyone, all my friends was like, hey, you want to go take lessons with me? No one wants to be the worst one, in their group. So you bring in other people with you to commiserate.
Is that why you invited me to play golf last week?
That's exactly right.
All right. Good to know. All right. If you look at the next slide, Bodo. Yes. So another thing on recruitment is that if you are able to activate the happy customers at the right moment, basically you can use that or kind of close the circle, as we talked about in the beginning, in regards of being discoverable on Google or on the internet in general, by using surveys as a tactical weapon in order to enhance your review counts or your review scores or your review freshness. You can actually automate that social proof, so to say, and make it digital. And just, you just have to turn it on, and you can actually see an improvement in your overall Google rating, because we are nudging the most happy customers in that direction. So we would definitely recommend in order to do that, in order to recruit new golfers.
Yeah, I think that goes a long way. And also reversely, if you have somebody who's unhappy, if you know about it, you can tackle it, right? And you can care and reach out. And that's obviously where the post-round survey is a closed circuit, right? Whereas Google rating, like Jacob said, that's forever and that's out there, and it's not going to change, right? So to have this filter that is constructive is hugely valuable. Just a quick question here, Morten. How long does it take a player to fill in a survey, assuming that there's different types for private or daily fee? Like, what would you say is their effort that's required?
Well, I've been working in the survey and data business for almost 20 years now, and I have never seen as high response rates in any business or industry as in golf. So the golfers definitely have something on their mind or heart. And with that said, even though some surveys are longer than others, we deliver a default template that courses can use, but they can add their own questions to it in order to customize. But I would say 5 to 7 minutes, but it can be even shorter, just one question, if you like that. But if you're only asking one question, it is hard to figure out, what to optimize after that.
And a question for Jacob. I know that you guys have got a tool that scans for sentiment. Tell us a bit how that works.
So it's called brand listening. So basically, you can capture your Google reviews. It centralizes all that easily. But what's a little bit harder to capture is if someone's just speaking about your course or your business on the internet. Are they on X talking about you? Are they on a Reddit forum asking for, hey, who has this experience at XYZ course? That's harder to do. So it basically crawls the internet, finds mentions of your business, and then collects that for you. So okay, I should go to this Reddit forum. Someone's talking about us. We should be there. We should make sure we understand what's happening. So it's just another helpful tool to make sure that outside of the normal review channels, you are able to capture everywhere where you're showing up.
I'm fully with you. Between X and Instagram and LinkedIn and Yelp and TripAdvisor and Golf Advisor and Google, and there's 20 channels that people might use. How do you keep track of it? And very often you want to also jump onto positive sentiment, right? It's not only about looking for the bad stuff, but positive sentiment. If we're doing something really well and our customers are responding, well, let's do more of that. Let's tell the story to everyone. And I think ultimately that then reaches back to Net Promoter Score, because normally it's people who are unhappy, or it's people who are extremely happy that go and share online. And Morten, I see that there's more data here on that, the NPS. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring in this stat here from our database. So we've been tracking the NPS for golf in US for over 10 years now, and it's actually been relatively at a stable level until something special happened in 2021. And what's interesting is that it was not only a quick dive and then back up to normal, so to speak, but it actually stayed down at a lower level in regards of your willingness to recommend golf course at a certain level. Here we have responses with over a million golfers, so we have very strong data set here. So I just wanted to showcase this when we're talking about how everything within golf is super great and golf is booming. Yes, but it also comes with a price. And it comes with a price, especially in that segment that we were talking about, the new segment, in the age group 18 to 13 years. They are actually the one with the lowest satisfaction of every golfer group. And why is that? And we can see again, just looking at last year's data from 2024, the three most important touch points for this age group here, it was actually tee boxes. You can laugh about that, but that was actually super important. It was prices, and it was flow of the game. So those were the three most important factors in regards to NPS.
Sure.
So yeah, super important.
Yeah, I feel that generation, particularly, they're used to Amazon Prime, Uber, DoorDash, right? Instant gratification. So maybe that flow and pace of play is even more important to them, right? Also, many of them have learned their game at Topgolf and fell in love with it, and that's 2-hour experience. Jacob, what's your sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little older than this age demo, but I can relate a little bit, and I think it comes back to expectations, prices as well. Obviously, a younger generation is going to have less disposable income. So it's like Morten was saying, you have to consider the demographics differently because it's going to be a completely different experience. Your women aged 50 plus are going to be different than your men aged 18 to 25. It's going to be wildly different. So
100%. Okay, so we have some work to do, especially in keeping those younger players that are joining with the game, right? So they can be golfers for the next decades. And also, we all benefit if we grow the game, right? That's a very clear outcome. So I think, just to close out, so this is obviously a circle, right? So post-round means before the next round, right? So we want to engage again. After the round, we might reach out and say, hey, we've got XYZ coming up. Please come see us again. And if you bring a friend, we will give you X, right? Whatever it is, making sure that people come back to us. So that is a circle and a cycle that we want to keep investing in. I see that we're at the end of our hour. I'm really lots of insight being shared here. Thank you both, Jacob and Morten, for your expertise and for sharing and digging into some data. Lots of takeaways also for you operators to do tomorrow or in this week of the Masters. We'll give you a few days to get excited about that, but then as soon as you can, right? Some things that you can easily change, and then obviously if you're looking for a tech solution to help you, you reach out to any of us or our teams. We're here for you, and we'd love to bring that connected power of these three solutions to more clubs. Thank you, gents. I see that we haven't gotten any questions in, but we still have virtually everybody on after an hour. So we held everyone's attention. That's good to see. Really excited to see what this year brings for the industry. And I hope to see both of you at some of the events that we're going to be at, might be TechCon or Golf Inc. or one of those. And to see what's new on the data front and with your systems and how we can work together more. Thank you, gents. It's been awesome.
Thank you all.
Can we have a copy of the slide deck? There's a question. We will certainly share the video so that you can dig into it, and we'll see how much of this information is proprietary, but I'm very sure that we can make that available to you too, if there's value in it for you. Okay, thank you everybody. I'm glad to get a last second question. There's another question. Okay, we're not Thanks a lot. Goodbye. Jenny, it's been a pleasure. We've had about 70 people on, so hopefully some of you will have some positive takeaways from this, and it'll make your season stronger. Okay, gents, it's been great, and we'll see you soon.